Hi and welcome to today's episode in which I show you how to make vegan brown butter and then show you how to use it. I've made a new friend on Instagram. He reached out to me and said, I grow chilies, I've got loads of them, would you like some? And indeed, he has hooked me up. So thank you very much, Josh. This is all thanks to you. So I went down to his allotment yesterday and he picked a load of chilies for me. He also gave me some onions, some perpetual spinach, I think it's called. It's like a big leafy green. And then he's given me this amazing bunch of carrots. So if you've never seen a carrot with its top on, that's what it looks like. These are fresh out the ground yesterday, so I've just cleaned them off with a little brush just to get the muck off. As he was handing them to me, I started thinking of, what am I going to do with that? And thought carrots, coriander, that'd be nice. I'm going to mix them with some coriander seeds. Then thought, I could pan fry those or do maybe air fry them, roast them, that kind of thing. Then thought about butter. Then thought, brown butter. If you haven't come across brown butter before, the French name for it is beurre noisette because it resembles a hazelnut, it's like a nut brown colour. It's got a very nutty, distinctive flavour to it that's is gorgeous. It's kind of buttery, but then more than like toasted and very deep, lovely flavours to it. If you've watched the vegan kedgeree video that I did, I want to say last year, I accidentally made it. I had a pan with butter in it on the stove and my old stove used to just turn itself on. And I suddenly was like, why can I smell butter really powerfully and hear sizzling? And I looked and yeah, so this time we're going to make it purposefully and deliberately. According to Wikipedia, the process in making beurre noisette, you're separating the milk solids from the butter fat, and the milk solids fall to the bottom of the pan and then they start changing colour. They start cooking and toasting a little bit. That's what gives colour, I guess, to the butter fat. In vegan butter, I don't know what the process is, but the same thing happens. And you can see little blackened bits if you burn it. Let's get the butter on because that's going to take a while. So I've got a tiny little pan here. I'd advise doing it in a silver or a light colour pan if you can, because it's going to be easier for you to see the colour change. So I'll add in a couple tablespoons. So I'm just going to let that cook down so it all melts. The prep for this is fairly minimal, really. Yeah, I'm going to do most of the carrots whole. There is one big one that I'm going to split down the middle. And because I've scrubbed them yesterday, I've kind of done most of the work. Josh was giving me lots of plant and gardening info yesterday. It was fascinating to learn different things about stuff that, you come across quite regularly but know nothing about. So apparently when a carrot grows, it develops this taproot, if you can see there. And what happens is that goes all the way down. It's a very long, thin thing. And then it starts filling out that way. I'm also warming up a pan at the back, a cast iron pan. I'm going to dry toast off some spices. I'm going to toast some coriander and some caraway seeds just for a couple minutes, and that helps bring the flavours out of them a touch. I'm going to do like a 1/4 teaspoon or so of caraway seeds. And then I'll do like a 1/2 teaspoon or so of the coriander. So I'll just let those toast. I'm doing it on a gentle heat because they will burn really fast. So, and especially because I'm splitting my attention in 3 different ways now. So the butter is just going to bubble away nicely, and I'll keep swirling the pan just to make sure things are moving around. I've lined my air fryer basket with a bit of foil, so it'll keep all of the kind of liquid in there that I'm going to put on it, the butter and the other bits. So as I prep the carrots, I'm just going to drop them straight into the foil. I've got them sitting on the scale, but then the tops are still attached. That is going to be pulling the back of them down. But that's like 380 grams. I reckon 300-ish, something like that. If you want the visual appeal, try and find a small type of carrot, like a chantenay, if you're in the UK, that kind of thing. If not, just get big ones and split them down. So I think I'll chop there. And then we've got a nice little tuft at the top. And then spin it around, nip off that taproot, so it leaves us with a very neat little thing like that. For any that are a bit bigger, I'm just going to take that down the middle, like that. And then for this biggie, so I'm going to try and get that down the middle. And do that into quarters. Show you the butter quickly so you can see what stage it's at. So that's where it is. I think it might be slightly darker. I had it on 4 initially, and now that I've done everything else, I can move that up to 5. I'm going to try and get the carrots in a single layer-ish. Bring the pan over here. You can now clearly see the solids at the bottom. I'm going to pour this carefully to try and minimise the amount of solids going into my little dish. Hopefully you're going to be able to see the solids there at the bottom. So that's left us with a load of gunk on the bottom of the pan. So here's all the solids that I've just wiped off the bottom. Got the saucepan back on the heat. I'm going to pour that clarified butter in. So we've effectively made ghee, if you're familiar with that from Indian cooking. I've just tried the butter and there's something off with the flavour. And I'm not really happy putting it on my carrots. So I'm going to try it with some margarine. see if it works with that, because it's got the similar kind of stuff. It's just, I think Marge has got a higher water content. So this is the margarine, and it is starting to darken, which is great. Phew, I thought I was gonna have to knock the shoot on the head and come back to it another day. So that's a relief. Just be really careful having your face anywhere near this, because it is spitting up a fair bit. So now you can start to kind of see the separation happening at the bottom of the pan. No, that tastes acrid. I don't know why this is happening. I've never had this problem before, but the margarine tastes acrid as well, like that butter did. Maybe it's the pan, I don't know. Very frustrating. I don't know why this is happening. But such is life when you're cooking. You can't make everything predictable. Yeah, so once I've restocked my supply of butter, we'll pick it back up and then we'll cook these bloody carrots somehow. It's the following day. I've got new butter, so I've made up a batch to test whether it worked. It does, so I'm just going to use that batch. All I did was exactly what you've seen. I just put it in the pan, started it on 4, increase it to 5, and then back down to 4 once it started changing colour, just so it doesn't burn too quickly. I then poured the brown butter into a dish, wiped the pan out, poured the butter back in, and that's where we'll pick up and go from. If you want more tips of getting around kitchen-based calamities, make sure you like this video and then subscribe to the channel, and you can watch along as they happen in real time. The butter's all nice and liquid, got a lovely golden brown colour to it. So I'm going to drop in those spices. I'm going to do a good grind of pepper. Normally I use black pepper, but I'm out, so I found some green peppercorns in the cupboard. 1/4 teaspoon maybe, something like that. Do a little pinch of salt. Do it to taste. If you love salt, chuck loads on. To help boost up that natural sweetness of the carrots and to give a bit of stickiness as well, I'm going to add in some maple syrup. Swirl this around, bring it back up to quite a warm temperature, and then it's kind of hot going onto the carrots. Mixture went a little bit foamy and nice again. So I'm just going to spoon this over the carrots. As they're cooking, what I might do is open the air fryer and kind of baste them a little bit. And just sort of spoon the mixture back over them. So I'm going with the tongs, make sure everything's coated in the buttery, sugary mixture. If you don't want the maple syrup, feel free to skip it. That's not a problem at all. Or you could use agave nectar, that kind of thing. I just thought the carrots would go really nicely with the maple syrup. Same with those spices. I think they'll suit the maple very nicely. I'm going to try and get these back into a single layer. Into the air fryer these go. Putting them in at 165. I'll do the Fahrenheit conversion on screen for you. I'm going to do 10-minute bursts, probably half an hour, 25 minutes, half an hour. I've been trying to think through what happened, what went wrong with the Marge and the butter. It just seems weird that both of them, like neither of them would work. I'm wondering if it's that little pan, because I cleaned it even between the 2 batches. So it can't be that, you know, there was something in it, like, you know, if it hadn't been cleaned properly. So I don't know, maybe there's just something, maybe that pan's coated in something. I also bought a different brand of butter. If you're in the UK, I used Naturli for the first batch, Vitalite was the margarine, and then this batch I made with Flora, unsalted. Oh, you do want unsalted butter apparently, just in case I didn't say that before. I think salt inhibits the browning process. It could just come down to the brand, who knows? So maybe every time you buy a different type to try out, if you keep a little kitchen journal, just make a little note so then you can flick there and you've got reference quickly of which brand will do what you need it to. So all our little carrots are roasted and looking incredible. Yes. And the smells that have been coming out of the air fryer, my goodness. I mean, that just looks like a perfect little dish to put on a holiday, festive table, that kind of thing. Or just to sit in your PJs and munch with a glass of wine. Let's have a go. That's incredible. Roasting carrots brings out a lot of the natural sweetness. And then the addition of that little bit of maple syrup gives it some extra flavour because of that maple syrup, distinct kind of flavour. But that really pushes the carrot sweetness into a different direction. The nuttiness from the beurre noisette, the brown butter, it's nice and noticeable, so it's definitely worth doing. But if you can't be bothered, just melt butter down and do it that way. I scattered over some crushed pink peppercorns after I took them out of the pan, and that, really nice flavour on those carrots. The spices on there just work perfectly. Carrot and coriander is a great combination. Yeah, delicious. In terms of how else to use the brown butter, you can use it basically for anything that you'd want regular melted butter for. If you're wanting something very light and mild, stay away from that because you are going to get that nutty flavour. But for frying pancakes, that would be incredible. French toast as well. Both of those would work really well with that nutty flavour. You could use it for that kedgeree, like I accidentally made it the first time. I'll link to that down in the description for you. Lots of different uses for it. And it's just a very tasty little thing that's fairly simple to make. Not necessarily easy, as we've seen, but definitely simple. You just need to be a little bit vigilant, keep your eye on it, that sort of thing. I don't see why you couldn't make up a huge batch of it and keep some in the fridge. I'm sure it'll last a while. Vegan butter keeps in the fridge for months. Can't see why the brown butter wouldn't. I don't know. At least a couple of weeks, so you know, make up half a block or something like that, not a problem. Give a huge shout out to the community on Patreon. Love having you on board, and it's nice to be able to share some of the other things that I've got going on, my little creative endeavours. If you want access to that other content, behind the scenes stuff, craft project progress, I'll leave a link down in the description for you. If you want more ideas on how to make the most of your seasonal produce, head down towards the description, you'll see the subscribe button. If you turn on notifications, you'll be alerted as soon as they're ready. I mean, while you're down there, you might as well leave a like. And then while you're waiting for the next one, have a look at this.